All right, today we're going to dig into a really fascinating report that gets to the heart of a huge conflict, a conflict between our very human, very deep need to believe in things and society's fundamental need for cold, hard facts. And believe me, this tension, it shapes our world in ways you might not even realize. I mean, come on, who hasn't, right? Or maybe you've got that lucky jersey you have to wear for the big game. These little rituals, they feel good, they're comforting, and they're actually the perfect way to start this whole conversation. So, this is where the report really draws a line in the sand. It separates two totally different kinds of belief. On one side, you've got those harmless little personal superstitions. No big deal, right? But on the other side, you have high-stakes dogma. These are the big, rigid beliefs that demand public action, and they almost always rely on a whole group of people collectively ignoring clear, verifiable facts.
Okay, so let's get into the core of this. The report's main argument is that when this kind of high-stakes dogma takes over, it does more than just lead to a few bad decisions. It actually creates a fundamental crack, a fracture in the shared reality that any functioning society absolutely depends on.
And they've actually got a name for this: epistemic vulnerability. Just think of it like a crack in the foundation of how we understand the world together. It's a weakness that basically opens the floodgates for manipulation and some seriously flawed large-scale decision-making. So why on earth do we do this? Well, the first section of the report makes a really interesting point. Our tendency to believe isn't some kind of bug in our programming. It's a feature, and it's one that's wired deep into our psychological needs. First up, we're all looking for meaning, right? Belief systems give us a nice, coherent story about our purpose in what can feel like a pretty random universe. Science can give us the how, but dogma often steps in to give us the emotional closure and the why that we're all really craving. Next, there's this idea of control, or at least the illusion of it. Life is messy and uncertain, and that makes us anxious. Believing that some ritual or some higher power has things under control, that provides a powerful sense of stability. And the report says that this psychological payoff is so strong, it often feels more important than having actual proof. And this one is huge: identity. Buying into a group's beliefs is a powerful way to show you're one of them, to fulfill that deep human need to belong. And think about it. When everyone you know and trust validates a belief, it just starts to feel real, no matter what the evidence says. And finally, our brains are, well, they're kind of lazy. They're wired for efficiency. We love a good mental shortcut. Dogmatic answers are often super simple. They're black and white, and they're easy. They save us the tough mental work of grappling with complicated, messy realities. Now, this slide really sums it all up beautifully. We basically have two ways of thinking. System one is that fast, gut reaction, emotional thinking. System two is the slow, analytical, rational part of our brain. And what the report argues is that dogma thrives because it speaks directly to our default setting. It hijacks that fast, intuitive system one. So that's the why. That's what's going on inside our heads. Now, let's look at how this personal coping tool can morph into something much, much bigger and a whole lot more dangerous. The report breaks down this process of epistemic erosion into 3 steps. First, someone makes a big, high-stakes claim without proof. Then, our own brains do the heavy lifting. Our biases kick in and create these echo chambers. And finally, powerful groups can exploit that natural confusion to push their own agendas. And a huge piece of that second step is something called confirmation bias. It's our brain's natural habit of looking for any little piece of information that proves we're right, while completely ignoring or explaining away anything that suggests we might be wrong. It's how those echo chambers get built, brick by brick. So what's the big deal? What's the actual cost? Well, Section 3 of this report lays out the very real, very tangible consequences that happen when a whole society starts walking away from an evidence-based reality. The report points to this absolutely chilling idea. When a belief becomes an absolute, non-negotiable truth for a group, then compromise stops being a practical way to solve problems. Instead, it's seen as a moral betrayal, a total failure. And the result of that is just plain toxic. Suddenly, simple disagreements over policy blow up into these existential, all-or-nothing battles. And the people who disagree with you, they're not just wrong anymore. They're seen as bad, as morally corrupt. And that makes it dangerously easy to dehumanize them. And this isn't a new problem. History is littered with examples of this. Whether it was the establishment suppressing Galileo's science, doctors flat out rejecting life-saving evidence about hand-washing, or what we see today, the story is always the same. When dogma wins, progress just grinds to a halt. And the cost isn't some abstract idea. It's huge. We're talking about immense economic and human costs. We end up pouring our precious time, energy, and money into fighting these endless battles against misinformation instead of, actually innovating and solving real-world problems. Now, according to the report, the biggest, most critical example of this right now is the institutional denial of massive planetary-scale evidence on issues like climate change and biodiversity loss. When powerful groups take advantage of our natural tendency to believe things without proof, it can paralyze our ability to act on genuine existential threats. So if that's the threat, what's our defense? How do we fight back? Well, the last section of the report argues that our best and maybe our only defense is a collective, society-wide commitment to a shared evidence-based reality. I mean, just think about it. The absolute basics of our society depend on this foundation. Our entire legal system needs objective evidence to function. Public health would collapse without clinical data. And trying to get any global cooperation is impossible if we can't even agree on a common set of facts. The report introduces this really powerful idea here, cognitive immunity. It's this concept that being rigorously skeptical isn't about being cynical or negative. It's a vital defense mechanism. It's like a societal immune system that protects us all from beliefs that are toxic to our collective health. And this all builds to the report's final and I think most powerful conclusion. This choice, the choice to demand evidence, to be skeptical of claims that don't have proof, it's not just some abstract intellectual exercise. At the end of the day, the report leaves us with this massive question to chew on. In a world facing challenges this big, this complex, is holding on to an evidence-based view of the world not just a personal preference, but a fundamental moral and civic duty? That's a powerful thought to end on. Thanks for joining me for this breakdown.